Hello, welcome to this video. In this short video, we're going to break down the awesome groove from Tower of Power's You've Got To Funkifize. David Garibaldi on drums. It's awesome, it's funky. Let's just get on with it. To kick it off, we're going to do a track called You've Got To Funkifize. And we're going to break down the intro first up. So it starts with this cool feel that's a little bit hard to wrap your head around. But that's why I'm here to help you, and that's why we've got the notation. So, you know, if you haven't already got that, go grab it. It's below the video. So what we've got here is we've got a quarter note rest on beat 1, then we've got an 8th note rest on beat 2, and we can see above it it's an 8th note triplet. So the count would be like 1, 2 triplet, and then beat 3 and 4 are just 8th notes, so 3 and 4 and. So the whole bar, including the rest, would count 1, 2 triplet, 3 and 4 and. But we rest on beat 1 and we rest for the first 8th note triplet partial on beat 2. So we're actually going to come in on the 2 trip. So 1, 2 triplet. That's the count. 1, 2 triplet, 3 and 4 and. So the second half is 3 and 4 and. So let me just count it again, then I'll take it to the kit. 1, 2 triplet, 3 and 4 and. 1, 2 triplet, 3 and 4 and. 1, 2 triplet, 3 and 4 and. Okay, we're going to go to the kit now, and when you go and listen to the song, when you hear it, just be aware that your first note you're hearing, the brain might want to tell you that's beat 1. It's not, it's the 2 trip. Okay, so hopefully that'll make more sense when you hear it. All right, so next up, we're launching into the groove. We've done your intro fill, we launch into the groove. Now this is really just 8th note hi-hats, snare on 2 and 4, so quite straightforward. And he's setting up the groove here, but on that very first bar, there's a slight variation compared to the second and third bars, so, and beyond that. So the core count here, we're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But notice there's a hi-hat on the first beat where you might have expected a crash, and then on the 2 and, okay? Now, I will just say, if you listen to stuff, so I went to see Tower of Power in about 98-ish. For me, that was a real cool era for them live. I really liked the sound from that time. I loved the vocalists they had there. I just thought they were really awesome at that time. But if you know, they've been around for so long. If you watch different shows and hear different recordings, you might notice some of the grooves change. So this notation is based on the original album version. But if you listen to, you know, live shows, you'll hear Garibaldi changing things around, varying it like you do as a musician, right? So, so for example, you might want to do a crash on beat 1 of this bar. So it is written with an open hi-hat. That is what's on the record. But you might feel like, no, I'm going to mix it up. So if you're playing this live in a band, for example, you might feel like a crash fits there. But let's just hear how it sounds as it was on the album. All right, and then when we come to this third bar, it really now just sets up, you know, it's all been set up, and now we just settle into the main groove. So this is actually only half a bar. It's only half a bar because it then repeats. And if you look closely at the sheet music, that half a bar is actually the same. If you take the first half of this bar, it's actually the same as the second half of the previous bar. So you've already learnt this. So it's going, the count is going like 1 E and a 2 and 3 E and a 4 and. Just 8th note hi-hats, snare on 2 and 4, and just get in the bass drum, boom, 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 ga, boom. You know, that can be challenging. And then also the placement of that open hi-hat. So go as slow as you need to, gradually work it up. All right, so we've got the main intro now, so let's just put those 3 bars that we learn together in sequence. Okay, next up, we're going to just look at this thing at the end of the verse. So from what you learnt in the intro, you can just groove through the whole verse. At the end of the verse, you've got this little figure, and there's a time there you can see on the sheet music, 0 minutes 31 seconds, just to help you spot it. So because Tower Power are a tower of power, they're a powerful band because they've got this amazing horn section, really tight. You hear their figures together. They're renowned for just being so tight as a section. A lot of the drum parts will catch those figures. So a lot of the time he's just grooving away with Rocco on the bass, and Garibaldi's just laying it down. And then there'll be these key figures where they hit together. So this is one here. So you'll see the first half of the bar is the same as the main groove we're doing. So it's going 1 E and a 2 and then we've got the second half is 3 notes. So dotted 8th note on beat 3. So that lasts for 3/4 of a beat. So like 3 E and. So then the second note comes in on the A. So we go 3 E and A. And then we go 4 rest and. So we go 3 E and a 4 and. That's the time in there. So dotted 8th feel. 3 E and a 4 and. So you go 1 E and a 2 and 3 E and a 4 and. Now, if you go and listen to that on the track, you'll hear how that is locking in with the band and with the vocal there as well. It's all kind of bam 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 didn't like it takes it into the next section. So you'll hear it. That's why I've got the kind of timestamp there, so you can see it's 31 seconds in, and you can pick that out of the song and hear how it works. Again, it's written as snare and hi-hat here, with the third one being an open hi-hat, but you can hit anything there. And that last one being longer works, so it could even be a snare or a bass with a crash cymbal, and then it will kind of hang into the next bar. So I wouldn't get too precious about the drum orchestration there necessarily. Let's try and learn it accurately, but then if you're just playing it, as long as you get the right rhythm, 3 E and a 4 and, it's going to sound cool. Right, so now we're just going to check out the bridge from this song, which is cool. I'm going to probably say that for every bar. I'm just going to say, yeah, this is cool. So, sorry, it's going to irritate you, but this section is cool. So, first bar, we're going to go into a kind of, well, there's a sort of quarter note snare feel going on here, but not on the first beat. So hi-hats, just 8th notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then from beat 2, the snares on the chorus notes. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay. Then the basses are going to be on the as. So you've got 1 on the first beat, and then from beat 2 we've got this emphasis on the as. So 1 and 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. And the last do you see is actually a snare, and it's got that dash through the tail. So that means we're going to play it as 2 notes, a little double with our left hand. So it's going to 1 and 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. 2 notes on the a. So that'll just be a little soft left hand. Kind of played as a drag. You could play it as a bit of a drag feel, which leads us into the next bar. But before we talk about the next bar, we've also got the open hi-hats with the snares. Boom, ga, so on beats 3 and 4. All right. So hear it on the kit slowly, and this is a tricky little section, so take it as slow as you need to. So the second part of the bridge is cool. It is cool. And this is, this is kind of tricky to learn, but once you get it, it flows so well. And when you hear it to music, it just makes total sense. So it's like, like it's totally fitting the riff. So it might look a bit messy, right? And you could take this one beat at a time. So beat 1 is the first 4 16th notes. Beat 2 is the next 4. You could do it like that. The hi-hats are just 8th notes. So it's really about that being your kind of solid framework, and the basses and snares weaving in around it. So that first part goes 1 E and A. So you go bass and hat, snare, hat, bass. 1 E and ah. Second part goes hat, snare, hat, bass. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, anyone can learn this stuff if you break it down enough. So if you try and learn a whole bar fast, you'll probably fail, and then you'll have this idea in your head that you're not good enough to play this. Whereas if you break it down and go, right, first 4 notes, hi-hat and bass, snare, hi-hat, bass. Got it. Let's practice that 1,000 times. Then you go, right, second 4 notes, hi-hat, snare, hi-hat, bass. Okay, I can do that. Let's practice that 1,000 times, you know. Next bit, open hi-hat and snare, hi-hat, bass. And that would go 3 and ah. That's the count for the third bit. Then the last bit, beat 4, is just 4 and. So it's snare and open hi-hat, then hi-hat. So you see, by breaking it down like that, you can do this. And then you gradually start to piece it together really slow. And then it's repetition, very gradually speeding it up. That's how you learn it. And honestly, that's how I learned this. And when I was preparing to be able to play it for this course, I had to go through this motion as well. And some of these absolutely caught me out. And some of them, I know that there's a lot of work still to do, as you'll see as I demonstrate these. So again, just mindset stuff, just expectations, just break it down, slow it down. No shaming out. I'd rather you did that than kind of played it too fast and then got an idea in your head that you're not good enough. Trust me, everyone needs to break these down and slow them down. So let's check the whole bar out slowly. Right, now looking at this third bar, if you compare it to the first bar in the bridge, right, just right above it on the sheet music, it's exactly above it, can you see it's the same thing? It's exactly the same, except there's 2 extra bass drums, which are on the 1 and a. So that's it. Boom, gat, 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 blah. Right, so it's the same thing. You just add in 2 bass drums, slight development. So let's just go straight to the kit and check it out very slowly. All right, and then this fourth bar of the bridge might look tricky, right? But actually, it's borrowing from that opening fill we did, right? So it's got a bit at the beginning. Do you remember in the opening fill? And if you don't remember, just look at the sheet music. We had a quarter note rest on beat 1, right? Well, now because the song's got going, we're actually going to play something on beat 1. So we're just going to go 1 and ah. It's a nice display snare on the ah. 1 and ah. Then we come to beat 2 and check it out, 8th note triplet with a rest on the first part of that triplet. So it goes 2 triplet, and that's a flam on a snare, then a bass. And then on beat 3, it's 3 and then on beat 4, you play nothing, and then you play on a flam on the and. Now you might look at it and say, wait, there's something there. That's just a hi-hat. When it's down at the bottom, it's just a hi-hat foot going down. So technically, yeah, you play something, but really all you're doing is you're closing the hi-hat because you opened it on the previous note. So for me, I'm not thinking about it as I'm playing a note. I'm just thinking about it as, right, I'm shutting the hi-hat because I opened it on the beat before. All right. So the whole bar counts as 1 and a 2 triplet, 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 triplet, 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 triplet, 3 and 4 and. Kind of quirky with the count, because you're going from 16ths to 8th note triplets to straight 8th notes. It's a challenge, it's tricky, but you can get it. That's what I'm counting now, because if you get the count in your head, 1 and a 2 triplet, 3 and 4 and, then it's just a case of slotting in the right drums in the right places within that count. Okay, but let's check it out on the drum kit. Okay, so we've learnt the whole of that little passage from the bridge. 4 bars that we've looked at. It's tough, but let's check it out all together so you've got kind of a bit of a feel of how it flows. And then the really important thing is go and listen to this in the song so you can actually hear it in the proper context and hear how it works with the other instruments. I hope you enjoyed learning this funky track. If you did, hit subscribe and check out this video as well.